All right, let's talk about something that sounds kind of dry, but is actually super important. Support department costing. We're going to look at a classic showdown, single rate versus dual rate. And trust me, this isn't just about crunching numbers for an exam. How a company does this can literally make or break a manager's career. So yeah, let's get right into it.
So let me ask you a question. How can a really smart, savvy manager, someone you totally trust, make a decision that seems completely logical, but ends up being a total disaster for the company? It happens all the time. But why?
Well, you might be surprised to hear that it often starts with just one single number. Yep, one number buried deep in the accounting system. It's their cost allocation. That's the amount they get charged for internal stuff like IT support. And that one little number, it can change everything about how they see the world.
This whole situation sets up what we call the manager's dilemma. It's this classic problem where good managers, trying to do the right thing, can actually make things worse, all because of accounting.
I mean, think about it from the manager's point of view. That cost allocation number is basically their report card. It's what they use to see if they're profitable, to plan their budget, and, this is a big one, to decide if they should use the company's own IT team or just hire someone from the outside. So if that number is misleading, well, you can bet their decisions are going to be misleading too. It's all about how these numbers influence people's behavior.
Okay, so what's the solution to this dilemma? It really boils down to a choice. Are you going to use one rate or two?
So on one hand, you've got the single rate method. This one is super simple. It just lumps everything, fixed costs, variable costs, into one big pot and uses a single rate to charge everyone. I love this analogy. It's like a combo meal price. You don't know how much the fries cost, you just know the total price. Then, on the other hand, you have the dual rate method. This is way more precise. It's like getting an itemized receipt. It splits out the costs based on their behavior. You've got a variable cost pool and a fixed cost pool, and each gets its own separate rate.
All right, enough for the theory. The best way to understand this is to actually see it in action. So let's tell a little story with some numbers. Okay, so here's our company, Sand Hill Company, and they have a central computer department. Think of it as their internal IT squad. This squad supports two main divisions, microcomputer and peripherals. Now, here are the numbers you gotta pay attention to. Their budgeted fixed costs are a hefty $3 million, and their budgeted variable cost is $200 for every hour of computer time used.
All right, first up, let's use the single rate method. It's a pretty simple two-step process. Step 1, we blend all the costs together. So we take that $3 million in fixed costs and add the total variable costs, which is 12,000 hours times $200 an hour. That gives us a grand total of $5.4 million. Step 2, we find the rate. Just divide that $5.4 million by the 12,000 hours, and boom, you get one single blended rate of $450 per hour. So when the microcomputer division uses 9,000 hours, they get a bill for, whoa, over $4 million. Easy enough, right?
Okay, now let's switch gears and do it the dual rate way. Remember, this is the itemized receipt. We handle variable and fixed costs totally differently. For the variable costs, it's pretty straightforward. You take the actual hours someone used and multiply by the variable rate. But here's the key, and you gotta remember this for the exam. For the fixed costs, we allocate them based on the budgeted hours, what they plan to use at the start of the year. So when you run those numbers, look at that. The total charge for the microcomputer division is now only $3.8 million. That's a huge difference from the single rate method. $250,000 just gone based on how we did the math.
Okay, pause. Same company, same work done, but two completely different costs charged to the manager. You're probably thinking, all right, that's kind of weird, but so what? Who cares? Well, this is the entire point. Why does this tiny difference in accounting matter so much?
Because numbers aren't just numbers. Numbers drive decisions, and those decisions have very real consequences. Let's talk about that.
So here's the fundamental problem, and the Horngren textbook nails it. The single rate method basically tells a lie. It takes fixed costs, costs that don't change with usage, and makes them look like they're variable. And that creates a seriously dangerous illusion for the person making the decisions.
This is what we call the single rate trap. Just follow me here. The manager of the microcomputer division looks at their report and sees a cost of $450 an hour. Then, some external vendor calls them up and says, hey, we can do that exact same work for you for just $340 an hour. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to outsource, right? It looks like you're saving the company $110 for every single hour. You're a hero. But you're not, because the company's true variable cost, the actual cash going out the door for that hour, was only $200. The other $250 was just a piece of the fixed costs that the company has to pay anyway, whether you use the service or not. So by saving money, you actually just made a decision that cost the company more. It's a total trap.
But the dual rate method, it's a total game changer. It completely avoids this trap. How? Because it gives the manager the real picture. They see that the true variable cost is only $200 an hour. So now when that vendor comes knocking with their $340 offer, the manager immediately knows it's a terrible deal. This clarity leads to way smarter make versus buy decisions and gets everyone working for what's best for the company as a whole, not just what makes their own department's numbers look good.
Okay, LSCPA review time. If you're studying for the boards, this next part is crucial. Let's do a quick power review to lock this stuff into your brain for good. You ready?
Okay, here are the absolute must-know facts. Ready? Single rate. It's simple, yeah, but it's super dangerous for decision-making. Dual rate. A little more complex for sure, but it's way better for getting accurate costs and making smart choices. Now, the allocation rules. Tattoo this on your brain. Variable costs. You allocate using the budgeted rate times actual usage. And fixed costs. You allocate using the budgeted rate times budgeted usage. Why budgeted rates? Because it pushes the support department to keep its own costs in check. Perfect.
And of course, you need a study hack, a little mnemonic to make this stick. Here it is. Single is simple but skews. Dual divides for decisions. Say it with me. Single is simple but skews. Dual divides for decisions. Single is easy, but it skews reality. Dual divides the cost so you can make better decisions. You'll never forget it.
All right, I'll leave you with one final thing to chew on. We've pretty much established that the dual rate method is superior for making decisions. So my question to you is, why on earth would any company still use the single rate method? Think about that. There's always a trade-off in the real world between what's perfectly accurate and what's practical. What do you think it is? Something to consider. Thanks for tuning in.